We got a nice little 15-minute segment for you guys, and it is titled "When in Charge, Take Charge." When in charge, take charge. So, Hank, can you explain to everyone what that may or may not mean
Okay.
for the audience that's listening?
As I ponder and answer that, I don't know whether people who are listening know that I spent 26 years in the military, and my boss. I remember I was a young major, and I was in charge working a special assignment, and every time I ran into a situation, I ran to the boss. And he said, Hank, are you in charge of this? Yes, sir. Well, Hank, when you're in charge, take charge. Click, click. And I say that, and I reflect back on that only because I was in charge. I
Mm.
had the authority to act and the responsibility to act, but I just kept going back to the quote, the boss. I think in life, um, what we do, I think we have a tendency when faced with, and again, it doesn't cap whether you're mother, father, brother, sister, what have you. There's a pyramid of authority, for lack of a better term, and sometimes we have roles and responsibilities or authorities to do something, and we're afraid of the consequences. We're afraid that someone will chastise us for doing something, or we will make a mistake, or and we come up with all of these reasons, self-inflicted, that we will not take charge. And as a result of that, we end up becoming average, ordinary, sedentary, and frustrated. So I would say that today, if you know, right now we're all faced with elections, and I'd say to people, whether you vote or you don't vote, you voted, and who you vote for is totally up to you. But again, we have a responsibility, we have a right. I said exercise your right, and then deal with whatever the results are, and stop pouting, because there's nothing you can do individually to change it after certain things have taken place. Hopefully you can change on the front end. And all of that comes to the point of people is talking about woe is me with the economy, woe is me with the war in Ukraine, woe is me with what's happening in China, woe is me what's happening in globalization, woe is me, woe is me, woe is me, woe is me. And because we hear all of this negative stuff, my opinion is that we get to the point where we think that no matter what we do, we will not be successful. Am I making sense?
It makes sense, and I think one of the issues is I'm gonna put it this way. Um, the Bible says that the fruit of everything is inside of itself. Okay.
Mm,
If
okay,
anyone
it is.
who doesn't know that, it's in the it's in the first couple of chapters in Genesis when
Well,
obviously
I
that.
excuse me.
So
I was eating pistachios last night, and the nut was inside. The fruit of the nut was inside the shell.
right, yeah.
Okay.
So long story short, the fruits of the thing is inside of the thing.
Mm,
That's
mm,
how life is. So the fruit or the manifestation of a son is inside of the father. The father has to extrude or
wow.
whatever sperm, puts it into a fertile place called an egg. That egg cooks or bakes the child, and then it gives birth to the fruit, which is now that child. Okay, so
I
that's
like
how
that.
life is. Now the fruit of whatever transformation that you're in need of is within it is within yourself. It's in a seed form. Now that seed may be dormant, or that seed may actually be in a process of being quote unquote cooked, baked, or metamorphed into a thing.
Mm.
The issue is that too many people disregard the thing or the seed, and they don't put enough emphasis in the metamorphosis.
Oh man, I think we're getting you're getting deep. I'm being shallow today only because sometimes people think too long and act too quickly when dealing with certain things. And I go back to something I said some time ago, and that is haste makes waste, because we have to have a plan. We have to have well, first we have to have a goal. Then we have to have a plan. Then we have to have a strategy to implement the plan. And the beauty about the strategy and the plan is they are flexible.
Okay,
The goal is in concrete. But what we do is we keep changing the goal because we go like, oh man, I'm not going to get there. If I'm going to drive to Chicago, okay,
right?
if the goal is to get to Chicago, there are only so many ways for me to get to Chicago.
Okay,
And if to drive there, and if I said I'm going to take 65, then I just put in that my GPS and I ride it out. But if I don't listen to GPS and I'm listening to music or what have you, I might miss my exit. Or GPS will tell me that, hey, you need to get off. You need to get off at the next exit. Okay.
right.
And I ignored what GPS is telling me. And next thing I know, I run into a tremendous traffic jam. I say that to say within us is a GPS. It is a conscious GPS that's telling us all the time, what is and what is not. And we are
Right.
not paying any attention to it.
We're not. We're not.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. So
And
I
mhm,
think one of the issues, though, Hank, is
help
what
me.
are the signs that someone should be aware of when they actually should be doing something different, when they actually should be, in fact, taking that step to,
Hmm.
know,
Okay.
that
Okay.
next thing.
Now that's let me tell you how I deal with stuff. I because I can't say things about other people. And I think you've heard me say about, and I tell my kids, gut reaction. Gut, follow your gut. To me, my gut is the modulator that I need to help me to know that I'm doing okay or doing bad. Even in a relationship, we think it's our eyes, we think it's our brain, we think it's our heart. No, it's our gut. And I say that if your gut tells you something and you're still going contrary to what your gut instincts tell you to do, okay, and it doesn't go the right way, we're blaming everything but saying, oh man, I should have followed my first instinct. Okay. So we're in a situation, we go to college for those who went to college, and we go to trade school for those who went to trade school, and we're learning to do X. Well, once you get to the job, it's X and Y and Z and AA and BB and all and AB and we're not adjusting to the changes, the trends of time, the difference in performance or the how you do things. We just come in and figure that, hey, I know how to do this, and that's all I'm going to do. This is all they're paying me to do. So
Mm.
when the doors start to close, now we're going like, man, they did this and I did this, and it's like they and he and she. Whoa, time out. I think you've heard the expression that when you point a finger at somebody, how many you got? What happens? How many you got pointing back at you?
You might have 5 or 3 pointing back, or 4 or 3 pointing back at you.
Oh, oh, absolutely right. So so I'm saying to I tell myself all the time, stop blaming others.
Right.
If things is not going a certain way, blame yourself. Don't be blaming other people. When in charge,
Take charge.
take charge. And then again, you can't rush it. I think I told you. You've heard me talk about. I lamented about my basement flooding. You remember me telling you that?
Yeah.
That was some time ago, right?
Right.
I had the final nail put in my basement yesterday evening.
Mm.
Okay. Now, had I gone with the first people who came along to do things, okay, it would have cost me a small fortune. But you've heard me say, this is God's house. I'm the caretaker. And God said, slow your roll. That's the gut instinct. Slow. That doesn't sound right. That doesn't feel right. That doesn't smell right. That doesn't slow your roll. And as I slowed my roll, God kept bringing people into my life. I had a contractor to come in, and I came in for an estimate, and he said, and he started to work, and I'm going like, "Whoa, time out, guy, what's up? I just need an estimate from you." He said, "No, I can get this taken care of," and he said, "And I promise you, it will not be painful." Using that metaphor of vernacular, and I let him do it. And I'm going, okay, now there are those who've been praying and going like, oh, holy Jesus, no, like you're throwing the dude out. Wait a minute, he fixed it and he saved me $9,000. Didn't know him from Adam. Now there's potentially that he was going to bring his family to the table to do some investing with us in real estate. Now, had I gone with the first guy, here's another opportunity that presented itself because I slowed my roll. And the guy who put the last nail in yesterday wants to sell his house. And he's interested in us helping him to sell his house.
Correct. But I think, and so one of the things that irritates me when I hear people give excuses about why they don't want to start something or why they're afraid to start something is the whole point. So, all right, I'm gonna talk to you guys. You know, this is it is what it is. If you don't like God or anything like that, just leave now, because that's where that's where I'm about to take this conversation. I was talking to some line brothers of mine, and we were talking about a particular Bible verse. My line brothers and I, we have an investment group that we're a part of, and we invest in things together, blah, blah, blah. And so I was telling them, I said, hey, listen, investing, like business, is a extension and act of faith. It is an extension and an act of faith. Now, there are different Bible verses that can show that to you, but I want you guys to know the reason that it's an extension and an act of faith is because you never know the exact step by step on how it will happen.
Or when it's going to happen.
Or when, yeah, it could be or when. Like you can have a time frame of when you're anticipation, but it is not certain. It's not certain. Okay,
you're right. Yep.
And so if anyone who has given birth to a child, guess what? You giving birth to that child was an act of faith, and guess what? It was not certain. It was not exact. When you walked in, when you found out that you were pregnant, I highly doubt that the very first physician that you spoke with said, "Hey, today's October 27th. Oh, you'll have this baby come June 6th of next year." I doubt it. I doubt that happened.
No,
right?
I doubt it either.
You had an expectation of when you would think that thing would happen, but guess what you had to do until that child was born? You had to carry that child. You had to feed that child. You had to wake up in the morning when you had sickness, and you had to do all these things even when the child was not yet manifested. So the thing that irritates me is, why is it that you know that you should be doing something different for yourself, for your family, for your future, for your financial stability, and yet you choose not to do it solely because you can't see the physical baby? It's like, yeah, the baby's inside of you, but you only been pregnant for all of 2 seconds. You want it to pop out of your body right now? It's gonna die.
Yeah.
You've only been pregnant for all of 2 seconds.
And in today's environment, you may go to jail.
True. That's a whole other story.
I know.
You've only been pregnant for all of 2 seconds. And yet You want this baby to. Matter of fact, you don't even want. You've been pregnant for all 2 seconds, and you want this child to start driving you to work.
Wow, wow. Leland, I'm sitting here because we get into some deep practical and philosophical discussions. And one of the things I hear people say, and it goes back to my kids, well, I don't know how. Have you tried? What kind of research have you done? Well, here's it. When I talked to my buddy, well, I prayed about it. Well, I talked to the pastor. I talked to a frat brother. And the point is, we go around and we gather all of this information, much of which might help us to get from point A to point B, but we don't take charge. Okay? And yet we still want to blame somebody. And they go like, if I did this, and you've heard me say my dad had a third grade education, but he was brilliant. And he told me coming along when I was thinking about dropping out of college, he said, son, he said, I want you to get to a place in life where you say, I'm glad I did, rather than I wish I had. So for those of you who are sitting around constantly scratching and wondering, what should I do? When should I do it? What's going to happen? What's tomorrow's like? And all this other stuff. Time out. Sit down. Decide.
Take a breather for one.
That's right. Take a breather. Figure out, okay, you know where you are. Where would you like? You know, a lot of people worry about the job. I'd like to be this. I'd like to be that in the job. But you hate jobs. So let's flip the script and say, how would you like to live? Or where would you like to live? And once you decide that, then the plan is, how do I get from where I am to where I want to be? What are some things that I must do? What must I change? How do I renew my spirit? How do I become reborn? Because you can't get there with the same old stinky thinking that you've been doing.
Right. And that leads us to this other part that really troubles me with humans. If right now, this very moment, so let's say this first and foremost. If you are doing the same thing that you have been doing before COVID, and if you are noticing that the economy is not getting better after COVID, but you're still doing the same thing that you were doing before COVID, I want to be the person here to say that there's a high percentage chance that you should be doing something different. Let's go ahead and put that. So let's demystify the idea of, how do I know I should be doing something different? It's pretty likely that you should be doing something different. So let's go ahead. So now that we have that understanding. So the next thing is, if you believe that the quote unquote economy is getting worse. So my question is, what are you doing that's different right now that you're not doing before COVID or during COVID? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing right now that would give the trajectory that something different should happen for you financially? And if the answer is nothing,
well,
then you need to do something different.
Take charge.
Take charge. And I think one of the issues is that when the government was handing out money, this is really, if people really had an issue with the government handing out money, the argument they should have made is this. When the government was handing out money during COVID, during a disaster, during a crisis, it could have made some people think that there was no such destruction. Right? Like, if homes around your house were burning on fire, you're in danger, but because a government agency came and put out those fires around you.
What kind of agency?
Government agency.
Okay, all right.
Then it gave you the sense that, I can stay here and nothing's wrong.
Yeah, I dodged
Okay,
the bullet. Yeah.
I dodged a bullet,
Mm-hmm.
but unbeknownst to you,
Mm-hmm.
you are slowly dying of fumes from the fire that has been put out. Okay,
Mediocrity.
and you're slowly dying. So
Mm-hmm.
now, although they prevented you from having to move immediately, you still have
Mm-hmm.
to do something different. That's all I'm trying to get it is do something different. And if you're not doing something different,
Mm-hmm.
there is no reason for you to expect to have something different.
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
I'm sitting here and because again, we're not telling people what they should do. What we're saying is we're encouraging to do something. I went online and they may not be able to see this. I went online and I printed because I just want to know. And it says, how is the US economy doing? And this is dated the 13th of October. And we hear all of this BS and we start to believe the BS. And with COVID, since COVID, after COVID, before COVID, I'm doing better now than I did when I had a job. And people say, well, how is that possible? I'm in charge and I try to take charge every day. I do better some days than I do on others. But the point is, I know that if I don't do, no one will do for me. I'm not waiting on the government. I'm not waiting on anybody. I got to do it because every day I'm going to face my maker. And he's going to say, when I get to the pearly gates, Hank, I sent opportunities to you through Leland and you turned them away. I sent opportunities to you through Rod. You sent them away. Through Darwin. You sent them away. And we're going like, well, I don't trust the dude. No, God didn't say trust him. God said trust me. I sent you. You prayed for something. I sent you somebody, and you turned them away.
And one thing I want to say that real quick, and I apologize. What I was trying to get at earlier was if you're obedient to that gut, or as we call it, the Holy Spirit,
Mm-hmm.
if you are obedient to the leading of the Holy Spirit as an act of faith, you take action.
Mm, mm,
I
mm.
think it literally says like faith without works is dead. So without the action, you cannot have the faith. Now, the point of having the faith is that you don't know every nook and cranny. That's the point of faith. And what you'll notice is when you choose to take that faith journey or that faith walk,
Mm, mm,
you're going
mm.
to have opportunities only because you're walking.
Hush now.
So yeah, you're trying to get your first yeah, you want to get your first deal done, but you don't know exactly like the exact way it's going to happen. All you need to do is walk in the direction of the thing. And then, for example, you might have a handyman that's fixing your basement, and that handyman is saying,
Hallelujah.
"Hey, can you sell my house for me?" You don't know. You don't have, and that's the issue with people. You do not have to know
Mm, mm.
every single step of every single thing. And to be honest with you, if most of us knew the step by step,
No,
we would get in our own way and sabotage it anyway
yeah.
because you've
Mm.
been self-sabotaging yourself because that's what led you to where you are right now.
Oh my Lord, have mercy,
You
Jesus.
thought a lot of people thought in their mind that if only I could get a college degree,
Mm,
I would
mm.
have an amazing job and become a C-suite executive. A college professor gave you a step by step of what you needed to do to make six figures and you ain't doing it.
Or if you made six figures, you're now satisfied with six, knowing that you can make seven, or you can make eight, or nine, or 10. Okay. And it's not that the fact that you're greedy. You said your goal was six figures and you did whatever to make six figures. But the six figures could be 100,000,
Could be.
or six figures could be $999,999.99. Or you could be ye in act of food. and that's another discussion.
That's a different discussion altogether. Um,
But I'm
that is
trying to
crazy.
keep it real.
No, I mean, absolutely. So, all I want people to understand in this is you, whether you work with Hank, myself, Marcus, or anyone else on the team, that is a-okay. But one thing that you have to understand is you have to actually take action.
It's in charge.
And you need to take action without, you need to be able to see one step at a time in front of you, but
Hmm.
you don't have to see the entire staircase. That's what faith is.
Hmm.
If you're driving from California to New York and it's pitch dark and it's midnight, you can actually get there by just using the headlights. Your headlights may only go as far as maybe 6 feet in front of you, but you'll be able to make it.
Hallelujah.
But the key thing is you're driving that direction. If you said that, hey, I'm only going to drive when it's daylight, that's fine.
Hmm.
It's going to take you a lot longer.
Hmm. Hmm.
So don't get mad at John or Jimmy or James as they're succeeding or they're having the success that you claimed that you wanted, but you
Hmm.
actually never invested enough in yourself to take action. You wanted to have every single thing as a sure thing. And you know
Hmm.
what happens, Hank? It makes me sad, but also frustrated. What happens to these same people that do things like that is they miss opportunities. They lament anguish over the opportunities that they miss.
Hmm.
And then they either start to blame other people for them being the reason they miss opportunities,
Well,
or they just start throwing money at anything that comes by them because they are so desperate in
can I,
trying to capture back the time that they
I?
missed.
I know we're running short on. Can I give the example of this house I'm living in now?
Absolutely.
A friend, a frat brother, is a realtor. And I let him know that I'm thinking about moving sometime soon. He asked the price range, and I gave him a range. And then we went out and we looked at two houses, no, one house. Then he turned me on to a friend of his who's a realtor. We looked at one house, and I called him and said, "Hey, listen, I'm ready now." He said, "Well, I'm tied up right now." He said, "Can we talk next Tuesday?" I said, "Sure." Next Tuesday, that conversation, next Tuesday, it's 2.5 years ago. How much realtor fees and closing fee? How much are realtor fees? So 6%.
6%.
My house is more than three. You do the math. What I'm saying, and I'm not saying that to boast. I'm saying that here an opportunity presented itself. He wanted it two and two. He wanted it 3 years ago, or 2 years and 8 months ago. I wasn't ready then. I was ready 2.5 years ago. And he never, ever, I called him, but he never returned the call. Okay. In fact, I have not spoken to that young man in over 2.5 years. So, my point to you is, whose time schedule are you working on?
Yeah.
Who are you allowing to make decisions for you? How long are you going to contemplate without taking action?
Mm.
Because most of us, we want a perfect picture of what it's going to look like when. But see, you don't use the word when. You go if. And if says you don't believe.
If says you don't believe.
Okay?
Crazy.
If we're saying anything to you today and you'd like to continue this conversation, just contact us. Get on my schedule. I'll just talk to you. Do I have answers for you? No, because I don't know what you really want. The only person who knows what you really want is you. And here's the crazy thing about it. You've probably prayed to God, and God sent you answers through that handyman, that general contractor, that architect. Uh, Leland is 3 or 4 people removed in a sequence of God answering prayers. So don't miss your blessings because things don't look right, smell right, taste right. Make certain that you have a clear understanding of what it is that you want.
But Hank, I mean, again, even if it did look right, smell right, feel right, it's smelling right, feeling right, looking right from the filter that you put everything through
Oh
that has
my
been wrong.
Lord. Oh, you see, that's a whole nother conversation.
It's
Let,
but I mean, like you've been wrong.
us talk about at some other time. Let's talk about the filters that hinder us from receiving the blessing.
I hope you guys are having a great day, and we will talk to you guys later.
Oh
Hey,
man.
just so you guys know, it is 100% out of love, but it's 100% the truth.
And the truth does hurt. Trust me, it does hurt.
The truth does hurt.
Truth is
If
like love. Love hurts.
for those who are interested and they want to take that next step, go ahead and text 10K. That's 10K
The
to
number 10.
317. Yep,
The
the number
number
10.
10. Mhm.
10, the letter K, 10K to 317-689-0080. That's 317-689-0080.
And make certain you get out of your own way. That's it. I'm joy filled today, sir. Thank you